So based on that information, that means that if I really have the cruise speed set at say 5%, TruStitch has to kick in. So if I move the fabric quite fast, it will try and maintain that 10 stitches per inch. And that's why you can hear the machine motor speed up and the needle go faster. So this is 5% if I was a slow quilter. And it sounds like it's having a moment. Okay, so maybe I'd like to move that up a bit faster. And that sounds a little bit better. All right, but if I move faster than that, TruStitch has to, you can hear the fluctuation in the speed of the machine, because TruStitch, like the controller, is talking to the receiver saying, okay, I'm moving this fast, you got to make the machine keep up with me so I can maintain 10 stitches per inch. Okay, and that's what's happening. So even if you're a faster quilter, you can still quilt okay at 10%. All right, because if you speed up, it will still maintain your stitches. So if you're using TruStitch and you've got it, say, based at 20%, and you have quilting that looks like the 10 stitches per inch, and then all of a sudden you've got an area where the stitching looks like it's more like 18 stitches per inch, and then you've got an area where it looks like it's like 5 stitches per inch, the things that are probably happening are you've got the cruise speed perhaps set too high, especially where you're moving the fabric still, but your stitches have all of a sudden become too close, because now what you're doing is moving the fabric slower than what TruStitch can actually do to maintain 10 stitches per inch, because the cruise speed is set too high. If you've got larger stitches, like that are larger than, than the 10 stitches per inch, so as I said, 5 stitches per inch maybe, then perhaps you're moving the fabric just a little bit too fast, like I did back here, and TruStitch cannot keep up with that movement. Okay, so whilst TruStitch will regulate your stitches, and the beauty of our stitch regulation is that we can nominate a stitch per inch. Okay, there are other stitch regulation on the market that you cannot nominate a stitch per inch. So we are very blessed to have that option. I have to say, I'm really happy about that. So while TruStitch will regulate your stitches, there are still things that you as the quilter need to be aware of and make adjustments for, because TruStitch will be, it's sort of like a tailored stitch regulation to the individual quilter, being a fast quilter or a slow quilter. So for me, I quilt around 40%, or 35 to 40%, say. Okay. I still need to be moving my hands at a nice constant speed for TruStitch to be able to regulate nicely. Okay, now you can hear that when I slow down that there's still a bit of speed in that machine, because if I was to press play now, you will hear how fast that machine is running. Okay, you can hear that. So for me, I find 35% helps me maintain a nice speed as I'm slowing down and speeding up, and my stitch regulation I'm really happy with at that speed. but it is certainly not a speed that I would use when using rulers. Okay, so I'm going to now put this way back down to about 5%. And now if I press play, you'll hear how fast that really doesn't go. Okay, so it's pretty slow, right? So I'm just going to move over to here so I can show you how this works. The other thing is that we here in Australia do not yet have our overlays. We are still waiting for our delivery on this, and I'm hoping we get it really soon. What I know it'll fix is that when TruStitch is having to read the surface, because that's how this information is, this unit is reading the textural changes in the surface to be able to talk to that receiver, which is how it determines how fast this little controller is moving with the fabric. But you'll see here that because of the insert where the machine comes into, or the cutout, there's a difference in texture. TruStitch doesn't read the machine, and it's certainly not going to read the gap in between that. All right, so what Handy Quilter have done, bless them, is they've sent out or they've made an overlay that we can actually put in over this table. Now, of course, you've just seen me very comfortably using TruStitch without the overlay, so I don't have to have it. Personally, I am going to have it because I want to be able to use TruStitch at any point on my machine and not have to remember that I'll move it. That's just because I work so quickly. Okay. So my personal choice would be to have it, but of course with our consumers we're not going to be forcing that upon them because we know TruStitch will work with or without the overlay. The other thing that the overlay will address, which really isn't a problem, because if anyone has seen my ruler quilts, they'll know it's not a problem. I'll just remove the fabric here. Okay. Is there has been some people find quilting here quite difficult because there's a bit of a height difference between the plate and the base or the bed of the table. Now, I have worked and used successfully rulers on a lot of projects, as you see right now. Okay. What I tend to have a problem with, and that's really the only problem, is that my basting pins get caught in here. So I'm like, bring on the overlay, yay, can't wait for it. As far as using it with the ruler and my height difference, has made no issue for me. I don't have a problem with that. I've adapted my ruler work for it not to be an issue. But those of you who do find an issue and may use a super slider, I do not use a super slider, by the way. I have no need for one, but those who do use a super slider can aid in this or have taken the feet off or whatever, you will be happy to know that that overlay will also make it flush with the needle plate, so you won't have a height difference. Another yay. Thank you, Handy Quilter. Okay, so let's get back under here because I want to use the ruler with it and show you just the speed difference. So I'll turn my controller back on. Okay, I might start back here. I'm going to drop my needle in, pull up my thread, and start. Now I've got my speed set at 5%. So I'm going to hold my ruler and I'm going to come around and go, yay, perfect stitching all the way. Okay, so for me personally as a quilter, TruStitch is a winner because without TruStitch and with me using ruler work, I find it extremely difficult to maintain an even stitch length, and I cannot. If I quilt free motion, my stitch length I'm pretty happy with as a free motion quilter, but as someone who I love to use rulers, I cannot, without the aid of TruStitch, maintain accurate and regulated stitch length. So for me, this is a huge buzz. I can't tell you how much I love this aspect. Just to be able to come through and just use it and know that each stitch will be Perfect. Yay. Okay, so why would I use 5%? If I need to pause, my needle is continually stitching, but only at the 5%. It's not hammering and putting lots of stitches in when I pause, because my cruise speed is down at 5%. But it also means that if I had it any lower than that, say at 0%, each time I go to move again, it would possibly take that large stitch that I initially spoke to you about in precision mode. So I like to use a very slow cruise speed when I'm using my TruStitch, because with rulers I cannot quilt fast. I mean, well, you could, but am I going to be accurate? No way. So I then just reduce my speed. I really don't think there's much else that I can talk to you about. It really is up to the individual quilter to sit down and work with TruStitch to find their own personal speeds that work best for them, and not to have the cruise or that needle going too fast. Because you will always get caught out if you slow down the movement of the fabric. It's going to put too many stitches in there. But the other way around, if your cruise speed is slower than what you would ordinarily stitch at, then if you move the fabric a bit faster, TruStitch will catch up and put those stitches per inch in, that you nominate. Well, I hope to be able to bring you more handy quilter videos on the Sweet 16, particularly with using rulers and TruStitch soon. Thanks very much.